Hello everyone. So after a small coding session on my regular work, I thought let's take a small break and prepare one community video. So here I am. All right, welcome to our extended video to support our podcast tech series, right? Because many of you told me that podcast is not covering very deep dive on technology. So I thought that let's make supportive videos. So here I am. So this time I'm going to cover about the fundamentals of LangGraphs, which is very useful when you want to automate your AI work. All right. So that is what I put the titles also, automate AI workflow using LangGraph. So LangGraph is a workflow automation framework that models a stateful dynamic process using a graph structure. This image is a block diagram of LangGraph platform where it is shown that on the top it is a LangGraph Studio, which is probably when you get the licensed version of LangChain, you will get this one. Second one is LangGraph server, and the third layer you have seen that Python or JS SDKs and remote graphs. Here is your LangGraph CLI. So normal as a programmer, if you don't have this premium LangGraph Studio, then it is better to use LangGraph CLI to verify your implementation, right? That is how they have designed it. I have mentioned that credit given to the LangChain team for this LangGraph platform. All right. All right. So here is the today's objective, and our objective for today is learn workflow automation with LangGraph. Very simple. And I hope that, of course, you don't become a master, but at least you have you will get the basic knowledge so that you start from here. So if you are a beginner in LangGraph, this is the right place to learn the basics of LangGraph. All right. If I have to compare it with the LangChain, so LangChain is basically a just a chain over the LLM calls, right? If you remember in the last session when we are providing the podcast, second podcast, we clearly mentioned that basically the complete LangChain is, that's why its name is also chain. So chaining about the LLM calls, then providing the memory and those things, right? Only is part of LangChain. But LangGraph is little different than LangChain. It focused on states. It focused on transition of states. It focused on cycle. So you can go back to some step back and then recover or improve that step and come back again, start from there your chain, right? So basically this, now how these two can be compared, I think at this moment probably you don't able to grasp it properly. So just give me some time to share you at least first the fundamentals. What is LangGraph? What is the meaning of vertex? What is the meaning of edge? And so that you at least first understand what the fundamentals, what are the core components of LangGraph. And then we will at the, when you little bit get the fundamentals, then we will thoroughly compare the LangChain and LangGraph. Okay, that would be better, I believe. So what you will learn in this episode, right? What exactly you will learn? So the first thing you will learn is you will get to know that what is LangGraph. All right. Sorry. So now basically you will able to know that what is stateful, meaning here, what is dynamic workflow, and how it differs from LangChain. Okay. Keep patient little bit, and the second thing you will able to know that what are the key components of LangGraph. And so key component of LangGraphs are nodes, edges, state management, conditional edges, and cycles. All have their meanings. Like nodes can be understood like it is either a LLM agent or LLM models, and or it is a operation, action. So any nodes can be considered as action, or it is a LLM model. Edges are the transition states. Okay, so edges can be considered as transition states. I will come with little more detail when we will explain you in more detail in these points. Then you will get to know more about it. But fundamentally, these are the nodes means it is action or LLM. So that is the vertex. Then edges is basically you are transitioning from one state to another state, right? So this transition is happening or represented by edge. Then state management is basically you need it because when you go in cycle and try to improve the states, try to improve the particular node's activity, it will be possible only if you know about the state or the last state of that node, right? Otherwise it is not possible at all. That's why that thing. Then edges is also correspond to the conditional flow, like what should you call and when. So edges is basically considered to be a conditional value. Say for example, generally condition means what? Let's say if you are a programmer, you must have seen that condition is simple, right? If and else. If it is like that, else otherwise this. Or a multiple condition, like if I is equal to 2, then go by this way. If I is equal to 2 and 5, between the 2 and 5, then do this or that, like that way. So different flows is possible based on condition, and that would be considered as edges. So on edges, we basically do a condition. And then cycle. What is the meaning of cycle? Wow. So earlier in LangChain, our graph would be considered as a direct acyclic graph. There is no cycle possible, meaning you cannot improve the output of a particular node once you pass through that node, pass through that location or that part of the chain. That is the LangChain. You cannot go back and improve it. But in LangGraph, it is possible. And it is a huge gain, huge gain. Because in real world, how you are doing? In real world, suppose something given to you as a task, how you are executing? You are going to doing the task. Say for example, you are a programmer or coder, and one exercise is given to you to solve it. How you are doing? Let's see, you are not understanding your question fully or your program, requirement fully. How you will do? How the things you understood, you are writing the code, and then whatever you don't understand, You are putting the notes that I don't understand, I will read and then come back. That is how you are doing, right? And then going back to the book, reading book, or watching some material anywhere like Avinash Mishra's material, say, and then you are again coming back and seeing the writing the code again, because now you are aware that what exactly the earlier part which was not clear to you, now you are clear of that part, so you are again going back and writing the code. This is something like a cycle, right? You are solving a problem, part of problem, then reading something which is relevant to your problem, then once you understood, go back, again write your solution or improve your solution, like that way. And then this cycle will called a improvement, self-improvement cycle. Okay? Alright. Then we will try to understand or try to create a simple workflow in which one decision making agent just say yes or no flowchart, and it will be integrated with the LangChain component. That we will do. And the next segment, another segment, which is we will go where we will try to create a hands-on project with little more complex tasks. And the example given here is a travel recommendation system. So our task is to automate a travel recommendation system that process user input, applies filter and output a personalized recommendation for the user. Okay? All right. Here are text, skip it. Now, what is LangGraph? A very simple but very effective question. And as I mentioned that we'll explain you what is node, what it is. So this is node. Node represent an individual task that updates a shared state. Edges define transition between nodes. All right. One note here or disclaimer here. Please ask your query if you are not understanding anything, or if somehow my video is not getting exactly to your understanding, then you definitely go and ask in a query, because sometime while in the flow, while speaking, we definitely not able to communicate all the things which I have in my mind or in whatever understanding I have, because while speaking we becomes a little conscious, right? It's not a natural. So that's why sometimes we forget the flow also. So to mitigate such kind of scenario, anything if you feel that you do not understood this part or that part, please put into the query segment, into the comment segment, put it as a query. I will definitely reply that query. Okay. Now, as I mentioned earlier also, or earlier that we will definitely differentiate how this is different from LangChain. So here I have tried very small but briefly, like LangChain usually focusing on orchestrating LLM calls and prompt engineering. That is primarily the LangChain doing. LangGraph is primarily doing accessing Excel at managing complex stateful workflow with a multiple steps, conditional transition and loops. Please note that LangGraph is usually helpful when you need to maintain states of your work in your workflow. When things are complex, you could not able to finish or solve each and every part of the requirement in a one go. Like you do not have a sufficient states as of now. So what you do, you will do iteratively, right? That is what you especially doing in LangGraph. So that part is really a very handy for solving a big and complex task, right? That is a very appropriate to manage the complex tasks, stateful workflow, and so on so forth, right? So this is the difference. I mean, this is theoretical difference, but when I will explain you the project source code, you probably get to know a little better, right? Key components of LangGraph is the StateGraph API, right? So this is LangGraph uses StateGraph API to build workflow, and this StateGraph API is part of that is state schema, nodes, edges, and conditional edges, right? The state schema meaning type define a common state. So you go through all these things, right? I should not read everything here because otherwise video will become very large. So I request you to go each and every part of this article. Anything not clear, ask. If you got the clarity, then our challenge is to implement the project, which is a travel recommendation, right? If you remember this one, right? Where was that? Here. Yes. So automate a travel recommendation system that process user input, applies filtering, and output a personalized recommendation. That is what you have to implement if you understood properly. Now here is environment setup. Something is prerequisite. You can check here. This part is your prerequisite for your environment setup, right? Then here is your environment, like create a environment, virtual environment to manage your code better. And this is for Mac or Linux. For if you are a Windows user, use it like this way. So this is for activate the virtual environment, right? Then I created one requirement file here, requirement.txt, and I put all the requirement of our packages or libraries here. So LangGraph, LangChain, OpenAI, Python.environment, NSCT, Fast API, UbiCon. This Fast API and UbiCon is primarily a Fast API server, and LangSmith is for monitoring and observation of your app. If you remember, in the last podcast, me and Rahul has already given a very good emphasis on LangSmith, why it is useful, when it is useful, and when you must use LangSmith. So all these things are there, and you have to use it. So you have created the requirement.txt, you put all the dependency here. Now it is time to install all the dependency together. So you just call this pip install -r requirement.txt. This is the way you are generally installing your all dependency in one go. All right. So there are some environment variables requirement also in this project requirement. So I have required here is OpenAPI key and LangChain API key, right? So these two you need to put into your environment variable file. Why we do this way? Because of security reason, key should not be directly mentioned in any source file. Never do it in your source code file, because that will basically expose your API key, which is very dangerous. So that's why one good approach is put these information into environment file, load environment file dynamically at runtime, and while sharing publicly, don't share your environment file. That is how you can skip the things. All right, gentlemen. So now it's first stage is you already did. So this first stage is clear. Now the second stage is that you have to first set up some instruction used for loading your environment variable. And loading your environment is load underscore dot environment. Package, I think you already have mentioned this one, yeah, Python dot e environment. This is the package required for it. And here you load the environment. So meaning you have already loaded all your API key of environment file into the memory, and then you just fetch that information, open API key, and then also check the error. If there is no error, then meaning you got the right open API key. If there is an error, then you can fire that value error and so on, and then close. One simple workflow which I already mentioned you, that we have to divide into two parts, a simple workflow and then little mature hands-on exercise. Right? So this is very simple workflow where LangGraph, here is this. So okay. Okay. And this is user input, and then there is a something which is like travel type, budget, something you need, and then recommend destination method is primarily based on your state, different states. There is no something like that. You finally recommend some destination based on whatever the user required and whatever the filter you can assign according to the particular user. Alright. So I hope that you should go with these things. You can try to understand it, and you will see that lots of things is here is the place where you are invoking your graph, LangGraph, and then they will start with empty state like this. Alright, then it will go to like this is the 3 state, right? Node, if you remember, there are 3 nodes I have mentioned somewhere: collect input, filter, and recommendation. These are the 3 methods also defined. Collect user input, if you remember. Collect user input, yes, this is. Then corresponding to another node which is filter, there is a filter method also, filter destination, and then to recommendation there is a recommendation. So these 3 methods assigned to these nodes, and then finally whatever the input you will get from the user, you can apply that logic into recommendation logic or filter logic, and finally you will get the recommendation corresponding to that particular user. This is very simple workflow, but of course it's a conditional, because dynamically as per the user requirement you are changing the particular recommendation based on their data. You assigning that data into the filters, and filter will refining it, and then recommendation method will be passing the final recommendation to the user. Alright, so I hope that once you go through you will get it. Then to run this Python hello, as you already know, already know this thing. Then there is a conditional edge kind of implementation. So that also I think I should not tell you right now too much. You just go and check. Conditional routing is something like if decision is not equal to yes, then go for retry. If decision is equal to yes, then end, right? Now integrating LangChain component. So this is something like LangChain and then LangGraph both are integrated together. So just go and see the things code, you will definitely get to know. I think this project travel recommendation, I should give you the challenge so that you will learn things. And if you are done, then you just see my code, because I already implemented, and I also given like what are the steps. Then we also shown some kind of like testing mechanism also. But anyway, you first try it, and once you accomplished your code, then you just go through my code here, compare it, and if anything missed or anything good you have done, then put it all these gaps or advantage in comment segment, so that I will go through, and if it is required to be highlighted in next video, I will definitely do it. So please go with the implementation part by own. First try your own solution and then compare with this. Okay, I'm not going to explain you, otherwise there is no meaning of your effort, right? All right. Now for testing also, we have done some testing here. Testing class I have created, and this also you try to use. This is little bit Docker and how you can deploy on AWS. So that part, I think as of now I will not do, because I believe that I have not discussed AWS infra until anything on this podcast. So I will prefer that one podcast is dedicated to how to deploy any AI application or LLM application on AWS infra. That segment I will cover in that podcast. After that podcast, I will create a small video to understand these things fundamentally. As of now, I will not discuss, because that will not make more sense. Right? So at the end, I will tell you that you probably, by going through this video, you can understand. I tried to explain you the following things. First is, what is LangGraph? We try to explain you in a very basic way, very fundamental way. Then key components we explain. Then we also shown you how workflow is built, and then we have given you a challenge of hands-on project. All right. Then we also shown you what kind of testing and deployment is there. You need, if you want to go through, please go through with that segment also. So by that, I think I'm just wrapping this video here only. I just wanted to give you this challenge so that you guys will do your hands-on by learning the theory about the LangGraph, and I hope that you take this challenge very seriously, and you try to solve this first by own, and if it is any issues, then look our solution, and then after that also, if something is not clear to you, I request you put it in the comment segment, so that me or my team or anybody among our community will see, and if they want, they can reply. All right. So by that, I'm just wrapping it. Thanks a lot for your patience, and thank you for listening going through our video, and I hope that today you have learned something which is important for your life, for your career. Okay. Thank you very much, and I only wanted to wish you good luck for your learning, and ऐसे ही सीखते रहिए, आगे बढ़ते रहिए, because successful journey only comes with the learning, and keep trying. So please focus on learning. Do learn everything every day. Keep trying. keep learning. One day you will get whatever you want to achieve in your life. That is what we all are optimistic about, right? Our life is all about. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Bye. Take care. God bless you guys.